Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, comedian extraordinaire. Before we get started, let me say Ramadan Mubarak. In advance, I'm hoping that everybody has a successful fast. Now, brothers and sisters, I'm here today to talk about the Islamic City 30-day challenge to love Allah more. What does that mean, Preacher? It means that we're all going to talk about the different ways that we can love Allah more, that we can dedicate ourselves and devote ourselves to the Most High, and in this special time of the year, Ramadan, get closer to our Lord. Now, the way I'm going to love Allah more, brothers and sisters, is I'm going to focus on correctness. Self-correctness, emotional correctness, spiritual correctness. Because I believe in this way I get closer to my Lord because I'm a lot more humble and a lot more open to His mercy and His wisdom. This was a big thing for me when I became Muslim, about self-correction, especially growing up in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, hearing all the noise about what I was supposed to be as a young black man, as a young black boy. And I found this calm, if you will. This calm that was passed down for me, from my relatives, my mom, my dad, all my relatives. It was that whole idea that we could self-correct ourselves. And I found this peace in the religion of Al-Islam. Now, you can't do what I'm going to do. I mean, don't copycat. Make your own video. I already said I'm going to love Allah more because I'm going to focus on self-correction. You have an opportunity to make your own video and talk about how you are going to love Allah more. That's right. So what are you standing there for? You got a limited amount of time. Ramadan is starting in like 15 minutes. I believe that you should get out and try to figure out how you're going to love Allah more. Make a video, 2-3 minutes. Join the challenge for Islamic City to love Allah more. I'm Preacher Moss. In advance, Ramadan Mubarak, and I'll be seeing you throughout this 30 days. Take care. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is your brother, Preacher Moss, feeling much better than the last couple of days that you saw me. I was ailing, let's call it. I was ailing on Wednesday, ailing on Thursday in Amarillo. Today, I think I got my mojo back. I got out and ran this morning for Ramadan, got my water in, got my salad in. I'm feeling good. Only thing that broke my confidence down was Sister Satana trying to teach me on Canva earlier today. It was heartening. It was cruel. I needed prayer after I was finished working on Canva because none of my Canva stuff worked. You know, I'm a comedian. I'm not a graphic art designer. So let's just put that out there. However, let me give some kudos to my sister, some love to my sister, because she was extremely patient working with your brother. You know, these things are really, really interesting. There's new technology. I actually had a brand new overlay that was fly, but somehow, some way I couldn't get it to the point where I could have the little box in there. So it just didn't work out. So inshallah, you're going to see some creativity on the overlays. We're going to be switching some things up. And we're actually going to have a couple guests in. I want to give a shout out to my people who participated in the 30-day challenge to love Allah more. I want to give a shout out to Brother Jawad. A shout out to Brother Isam. Satana was on the horn as well. You saw my personal thing about my 30-day challenge. I'm going to love Allah more. Also, give a shout out to Brother Aleem and Brother Amr, who are working with me on this project. It is really good. Shout out to Sister Halima, who also did a great video. This is a project. I'm going to encourage everybody on the Shout Out Show team. Please, I'd love to get all of you guys on this challenge with Islamic City, 30-day challenge to love Allah more. That's one thing. Make sure, I don't know, I haven't checked with Sister Tana, but make sure all of you, and shout out to Sister Reese. She was not feeling well yesterday. She wasn't on the show yesterday, and I had to call or text and make sure that my sister was doing all right. She was just a little bit dealing with allergies. I know how that was because it was killing me earlier last week. But for Brother Eric, Brother Altaf, Brother Bilal, Sister Sonia, JT, everybody, Mark Candidate, anybody else is coming on, make sure that we get your email address. Go to permissibleLaughter@gmail.com. Make sure we get your information. If I need to send the money to you for Zelle or through Cash App, however we need to do it, I'm going to do it because we're going to have a virtual iftar this year. These things have to, the tradition has to continue, brothers and sisters. So, let me give you a quick primer to what we're going to talk about today. The subject today is repairing relationships between believers. It is repairing relationships between believers, let me tell you why this is important. Because we get to this part of Ramadan, and we are very much in our spiritual modalities. We're trying to reach out. We want mercy, we want forgiveness, we want protection, we want all of these things. But sometimes they fall by the wayside because we're not clear about our approach. A part of the thing about when you have a problem, you're trying to solve a problem, you have to look at all the ramifications and situations that got you there, so that when you're having a conversation or an engagement with people, I think, brothers and sisters, that you're a little bit clearer. You're a little bit more honest, that you can say, hey, I did this, I said that, and in a place that is, I call it in a no judgment zone. And the reason I call it a no judgment zone is because whatever happened, happened. You can misconstrue it or you can put your spin on it, but Allah knows best. And if Allah knows best, and doggone it, you know it too. So we're going to be talking about this because it's a really important aspect and something that's actually dogged me for quite a number of years, which is repairing relationships between believers. So I'm going to get out of here. We're going to start the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. Much love. Of course, before we go, I got a shout out family. Shout out to Sister Satana, EP, executive producer, making this happen. Shout out Sister Satana. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to you. My main man, Eric Carter, all the way coming from South Kakalaki. What's going on, brother? Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a hearty Ramadan Mubarak to you, my main man, Altaf Rashid. What's the show without our Canadian brother coming up on the show, man? I was talking to a Canadian brother, man, and I brought your name up. You are the Canadian envoy to our show. I don't know if you know Imam Salimi. That's my main man. Check him out, especially during Ramadan. So I'm going to make sure everybody gets that love and everything. Everybody else coming on the show. Shout out to Mary Moss. Shout out to my Aunt Maxine, Kate, making it happen in Washington, D.C. They're on the rebound. The Golden Girls are on the rebound. God bless them. So we're going to be up in a minute here. We're going to start the show. We'll be right back. Don't you move.
You have to really be here to see and feel and understand what a race against time means. In every direction, there are groups of people working through the search and rescue operations. In that direction, there's a live search and rescue going on. The family members are sat by a fire. They've been saved. Underneath rubble is their loved ones. They're eagerly waiting to find out. You see everywhere around us, in each direction we look, there's destruction. There is consideration that this area, No Dege, will be completely destroyed because all of the buildings require a complete knockdown and start again because they're no longer safe. This has a population of 50,000 people, and the urgent support is needed to help shelter them, provide them with vital, life-saving assistance. We're doing what we have to. We're working around the clock, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease the suffering and to open our hearts. And we're asking you, please, brothers and sisters, give generously to help us support those who are most in need.
All right, we're back. I want to give a shout out to Brother Bilal and Sister Sonia Salahuddin. I hope they're doing well. They're probably doing the iftar thing. You know, it's interesting when we do the show, the 30 for 30, 30 for 30 for the Ramadan 30 for 30. It's really, really interesting because I can't believe that I just messed that same overlay up. Satana, you see what I see? I did it again. I thought about it in the other one. Never mind. That's me. Yeah, so maybe my Ramadan didn't run as smooth as I thought it would run it. Maybe I'm tripping a little bit. I'm getting ahead of myself. Listen, so I'm gonna give a shout out also to JT. My little brother is working. He's in transition. Please keep me in your du'as. He's normally on the show, especially during Ramadan. He actually fasts with me. He's fasted with me for a number of Ramadans over the years. So I know I might have to check on him too. But keep me in your du'as. He's going through a transition, new job. His son, alhamdulillah, his son got accepted as a freshman at Yale University. So he's really doing that. Shout out to my nephew Justin, my nephew Jordan. I'm sorry. Shout out to you too, Justin and Ray. So and I find people going through things. Sister Tana said something that's really really important earlier. I don't want to say important, but it was just kind of striking that it just felt like Ramadan is just running through, like it's just moving at a certain type of tempo or speed that we're not used to. I know the first 10 days is sort of like normally they kind of you ease into the first 10 days and then you have that thing, then you get your bounce at about day number 11, day number 12. It was not that, man. It was just seemed like everything was quickly transitioned in and out. And I thought about this topic about repairing relationships between believers. And I recollect on a time during one of my earliest Ramadans, if you will, that I ran into somebody, and let's just say, I'm not going to mention any names, any masjids. Let's just say that they really, really tuned me out about Islam. For a young convert, when you come into this space of this religion, and in some space, if you will, your love and your capacity is way beyond your actual knowledge of the religion. Meaning that you can systematically love Allah and not be Muslim. And I say that and I think about that a lot because you can love His creation and not be Muslim. So Allah is the creator, you love Allah. And I remember this as young as maybe I was like 21, maybe 22. And I remember coming into a masjid for the first time um, and really, really looking forward towards Ramadan. And the person dressed me down when I came into the masjid. This is big because I'm going to the masjid. I'm going on a day other than Friday. I'm just trying to go offer my prayer. And I mean, this person was really, really mean spirited. Really, really mean spirited. Just the whole talk about, that convert talk, you weren't born in Islam, da da da, and then they make you feel so bad about how many things you missed because you're not born Muslim, and it gives, the more you give credibility to it, the worse you feel. Because at one point, yes, you're open to correction, but the critique is not valid because there's been no correction in the first place. I have nothing to base your comments off of because I haven't been doing these things. At this point, I was not, I was Muslim, but I was struggling. And I remember I might make two slots a day, Fajr and Isha. The other ones were like, if I get to them, I get to them. And this particular Ramadan, I made intentions that I'm going to be better with my salat. I'm going to read this Quran. I'm actually going to go and I'm gonna have fellowship with other Muslims when the sun goes down, because my first couple of Ramadans I did not do that. I was breaking fast at Burger King and places like this, and the person made me feel a certain way to the point that it soured me on this ritual of Ramadan, and potentially soured me on the religion of Al Islam. And this person became kind of like someone I saw around. And every time I would see them, I had this feeling, this feeling in my gut, like that person really, really, like the person would walk up to me, hey, sound like him, and not really acknowledge what they did to me, a couple years earlier. And I remember one day praying or trying to pray beside this person. It was Taraweeh. And I remember I'm trying to pray beside this person. I was so upset that my prayer was like invalid because I'm thinking about this person. I actually left the line. Like for Taraweeh, I was like, I'm not even focused. Somebody else move up because, da da da. And I talked to the imam at the time, and the imam kind of like, I thought he was going to dress me down too. And he asked me what was wrong. I was like, there's a saying among reverts, converts, whatever you want to call us, in the revert convert community, that you haven't had your heart broken in Islam until a Muslim breaks it. Like you have not had your heart broken in Islam until a Muslim breaks it. And when I mean break it, I mean not break, I mean shatter it. And I felt that way because everybody, and you know, when you're, I can't speak about anybody else, but I can talk about when you're a convert, there's an urgency that you've taken this shahada, like you've seen Islam from afar, and then there's these steps that there are these traditional steps that you have to do. I could give up the alcohol and the drugs and all of that. There wasn't a problem, but you had to do this shahada thing. I didn't know you had to do shahada. You know, the nation didn't really talk about shahada back then, but I wound up taking shahada, and you know, there's just let me rephrase that. I said there's an urgency, but there's a desperation to get into the good favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You want his favor so much that you are acting above and beyond your capacity. You know, a brother needs a ride home. I'm gonna give you a ride home, brother. We need to paint. I was painting the masjid. Hey, I'm gonna paint the masjid. I was doing all these things. No, I don't have to work, brother. Man, I got a gig. Don't worry about it. I'll take you where you need to go. And there was this abuse because you love no. You loved Allah, but in your mind you wanted to love, you wanted Allah to love you even more. You wanted his favor. You were trying to curry his favor. And I remember in this process that with this particular person, they leveraged that on me. You know, I remember a brother's like, he wanted to borrow some money. I'm like, but everybody in the masjid knew he borrowed money and never paid it back. And I was like, I needed this money. And this brother hit me with, well, if you're a believer, you know, a real believer wants for his brother, he wants for himself. You know what that mean, brother? You know what that mean? And I'm like a fool. I gave him like my last $40. And I'm sitting around here thinking, Allah's happy. And I'm like, Allah's looking at me like, fool, I gave you $40 because you needed it. And you just gave it away. And it was just this type of ongoing thing. And it built to a crescendo whereby this person really, they took my Islamic mojo, brothers. Just let me just say that. They took my Islamic mojo. And I walked around thinking, where's the mojo at? And at some point in time, you realize that this person doesn't give you the mojo. Allah gives you that mojo. He gives you that will. He gives you that the impetus to get up in the morning and pray, to at least think about prayer. When you miss Fajr, you felt some kind of way about missing Fajr that you want to do. You don't want to have that feeling again. And I remember this because it's so important, because I had to address that person. I had to address that person and say, hey, you know what? That thing you did was wrong. And I had to say that thing you did, it was cruel. And you leveraged, you know, my love for Allah, you tried to twist it for what you wanted it to be. And I had to say these things. And as I travel around, and I've been Muslim now a long time, I still see that in our community. That people have this whole idea of forgiveness and repentance and redemption in a juxtaposition, but at the same time, it lacks a certain type of sincerity. You know, they say in the black community, the biggest killer of blacks in the black community is blacks, right? Whites kill whites. This is true. This is true. While the biggest killer of Muslims, brothers and sisters, is Muslims. And if you go around the world and you travel out of here and you go to the Middle East or Pakistan or India or Bangladesh here or wherever you go, you're going to find that the biggest killer of Muslims is Muslims. That somehow we have framed ourselves. And it's the same thing. Christians kill Christians, Jews kill Jews. Well, Jews don't kill Jews as much because there's not as many. However, my point being is that we need to take a look at how we resolve these things, because over and over and over and over, I keep seeing the same problems. We're not talking to one another. We're talking at one another. So it's not problem solving. It's positioning around the problem. It's not about us getting it correct. It's about me being right and you being wrong. These are the things we have to talk about. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back and we're going to be talking again about repairing relationships between believers. It's Preacher Moss on the ShOUT Show. Don't you move.
We just need help.
Imagine if there wasn't an olive branch. Muslim Family Services at your command. The people who help people have to say, we need your donations, don't delay. We all have struggles from time to time, but leaders dedicated is what you find. Before another person sheds a tear, support Olive Branch, you don't have to fear. Olive Branch Muslim Family Services. Action you can see, compassion you can feel. Sing it with me. Ooh. Ooh.
All right, so let me get back on this point about repairing relationships between believers. This is really, and let me give a shout out to our undercover UK sister. She's in the house. Sister Rabina, how are you? Wa alaikum assalam, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and Ramadan Kareem to you, dear sister. Good to see you all the way from across the pond. She snuck out of Facebook prison and jumped on. We love you, sister. Thank you so much for coming on. Oh, let me be quiet. I'm talking about your true identity on on the show. Uh, Shout out to you, Khan Akram. Yeah, dude. Come on, shout outs, sister. Khan Akram. Can you give us your Zelle or Cash App, Venmo information, because we do a virtual iftar on the show, and I want to make sure that you get your money for your iftar. Contact us at permissiblelaughter@gmail.com. Again, that's permissiblelaughter@gmail.com, as well as Eric, Atta, Bilal, when you see this, Sister Reed, when you see it, Mark Kennedy, when you see it, JT, when you see it, Sister Halima, jump on there. Sister Zakina, jump on there. Sister Aiko, you in Australia. I don't think they have Cash App down there, but I'm shouting out everybody that comes on the show. All right. I think we did, Sister Satana. We need to pick a day for everybody to have their stuff in for the iftar. Oh, I left you out. She's like, what about me? Yeah. All right. You too. Yeah. So, in fact, I shouldn't even get you virtual iftar. I should get it for your parents. They're cooler than you. That's what I'm thinking. Did I say that out loud? I sure did. Okay, well, here we are talking about repairing relationships between believers, and I'm breaking one. Okay, so let me throw this out. I think this whole idea of repairing relationships between believers is really important, because when we're not in a space whereby we can agree to disagree, but when relationships are damaged, and the damage over a long period of time, what I see in our community, especially our community, is there just this growing phenomena of contempt. And there's nothing worse than walking to a masjid to go pray or to Taraweeh, and you feel that there's certain factions in that masjid that have large amounts of contempt for themselves. Like, it's difficult to really advocate or propagate this religion if there are people walking around with this boulder in the middle of their stomach, and it's called contempt, and we believe that somehow these people are open-minded and sincere, and I want to say well-minded, to be able to actually take in, this beautiful religion, or talk about this beautiful religion. When I was Christian, it used to be the same. It's in every religion, because, Shaitan works cross categories. I think one of the greatest tricks of Shaitan is that between human beings, between believers, between husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, parents, that he can help us breed our own level of contempt. That's why it's so important, brothers and sisters, that when we have these feelings, don't be like me. Don't wait a year and a half. Don't do it. Strike it when it comes up, when you have these feelings. And sometimes it is an uncomfortable conversation to have with people. Folks don't want to be reminded that they did something wrong. They don't want to be reminded that they are not perfect. They don't want to be reminded that in some regards they are deficient in their attitude and their behavior. People don't want to talk about it. People want to live in a bubble. And you can all live in a bubble. A shout out to Brother Bilal. What's going on? Is the queen in the house? Appreciate you, man. He said he tuned in late. We don't mind you, man. You tuned in. We already gave you and Sister Sonia shout outs anyway. Make sure you get your stuff in for iftar. Sister Sonia took care of it last time, so I guess I'm going to go with the boss this time. But this whole idea, brothers and sisters, of repairing relationships between believers, I believe that it's very, very integral in terms of how society grows. You look at the things that are in society right now in terms of how people have propagated damaged personhood. We're talking about wars. We're talking about people across borders. Hear me now. People across borders are waging war and killing one another. maiming one another, disabling one another. Now, these are people who you can say, oh, it's Russians and Ukrainians, but they were all one part of the human family. Only a border separates these two. A border in the ideology on both sides of the border. And so it's the same way with people of faith. I believe that people of faith need to step back and understand that being people of faith means being people of fundamental logic. And fundamental logic begins and ends with the fact that my logic is not perfect. We do have a facility, we do have a capacity to seek out perfect knowledge, but it's not ours. And if we know that, then I believe it's really, really important to put it out there. I'm not saying being vulnerable, but be honest, be truthful. You know, one of the most powerful things I've ever heard in a conversation between two people that were trying to repair their relationship, and somebody said, do you know how that make me feel? And the gentleman said, I don't know. Please tell me. He said, I don't know. Please tell me. Now, here's why this is important. Because he could have said, oh, it made you feel like this. No. It's a rhetorical question. When that person said, do you know how it makes you feel? And the gentleman said, I don't know. Tell me. What he's saying is, help me learn how to help you. Help me learn how to help you heal. And if we can get into that space, brothers and sisters, I think that life is a little bit more, dare I say, accessible. It's a little bit more lighter, that our religious qualities, if you will, or our religious temerity, it takes a jump. You know, it takes a jump. You know, one of the things that I learned as a teacher when I was teaching students, it's okay as a teacher to say, you know what, I apologize. I had not realized that my students have been taught by people who rarely ever apologize for what they did. Now, there's some things you don't apologize for. The rules are the rules, but sometimes we go off course. Sometimes we raise our voice. I wasn't, teacher of the year. I wasn't the worst teacher. I wasn't teacher of the year, but I wasn't the worst teacher. But sometimes I raised my voice, and I had to because I had to get their attention. But at times I learned in that young stage of being a Muslim that it was okay to tell everybody, you know what? Even when things were calm, it was okay for me to say, you know what? So I had to raise my voice, guys, sisters, young people. I had to, and you know what they would say? It's okay, Mr. Moss. It's okay, Mr. Moss. If we can get to almost that space, shall I say Islamic nirvana of being able to repair, and once you can start to repair relationships, you can restore them. It creates an opportunity where you grow new relationships. With a problem that may have ended a relationship, you can actually move away from it and have a entirely different relationship. It's possible. And I'm going to advocate for the believers because this is the month of Ramadan. And while we want mercy in his first 10 days, we want forgiveness in the other part. If you take what I've said, part and parcel, one part of my conversation was about mercy. The other part was about forgiveness. Think hard, brothers and sisters. This is the month of Ramadan. Oh, sister, can we put up sister's comment? Sister Khan, she had a great book for Ramadan. It's titled Ramadan Reflections, 30 Days of Healing from the Past, Journeying with Presence, and Looking Ahead to an Accurate, Focused Future. I love that. Can you, sisters, I don't want to say Sister Rabina. It's not Sister Rabina Facebook. It's Khan Akram. Khan, can you get us the title? Not the title, but the author of that book? Send it to me on Instagram if you get a chance. All right, everybody. That's our show for today. You guys have been amazing. I hope that you take what I said to heart. I'm not perfect. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, you know what? When you see something, and the whole saying is, if you know better, you can do better. That's all I'm talking about here. It's Preacher Mon's shout out show. And thank you again. Appreciate you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you tomorrow.